trans kids from a young age, they are incredibly consistent in when they're expressing their gender identity.
Okay, but that's a big generalization. You're talking about a lot of human beings.
Yeah, but
that's fits this narrative by saying they're incredibly consistent. But like, if you polled these people, like, what are you talking about? Like, if you,
I mean, that's I don't have the research in front of me that I saw, so I can't like go into the details on it. But like, yeah, it was research that was surveying and tracking like trans kids who declared their identity from a young age. Did it change? The answer was generally no, it really didn't. I have a friend who has a trans kid. Don't know the kid's exact age, but we're in the age range that we're talking about.
It was the top 10 most wanted celebrities promoting harmful pseudoscience.
And in that, I read about myself, and I was shocked to learn that I believe that 911 was created by the government. I did not know. I didn't know that I believed that. Okay, but if that's who they are, if they think that they're a girl, why do you have to give them hormones to make them more of a girl?
Because... I'm sorry, can you expand on the question?
Hey everyone, and welcome back to another one of our JRE videos, or how should we call it today? Joe's really exhausted. In today's episode, we will dive into the most unbearable and annoying guests that partake in the famous Joe Rogan's Experience. We will see how these people not only challenge Joe's brains, but also his patience. From politics, gender identity, and personal responsibility, his podcast is often the battleground for diverse opinions. But it's not just about the debates, it's about the way Joe digs deeper, challenges assumptions, and forces his guests to confront their ideas head-on. So stay tuned to see how these people make even the podcast king question his royal position. Welcome back to Podcast Crazy. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and join the conversation in the comments below. We want to hear about your favorite moments from Joe's most unbearable guests on the show and how you would deal with them. And now let's jump right into it.
The idea of the alpha male doesn't exist in humans. Like if you talk to any anthropologist, any biologist, any sociologist, right, and be like, are humans organized in a social relationship where there's alphas and betas? They'll be like, no, what are you talking about? This is an unscientific idea, right? And we just did something laying that out in the context of like people who are, oh, my type is I like alphas, right? Well, there's no such thing actually, humans are you're dominant in some situations, not in others, right? It's an overly simplistic way of looking at human relationships. And I thought that was a pretty simple, straightforward thing. I was like, this is just a bit of pseudoscience that you hear people tossing out. And people went ballistic on the internet because people have sort of like built a edifice of ideology in their minds about like, there's alphas, there's betas. I'm an alpha. This is what an alpha's like. This is what a beta's like. Well,
let's take away the words.
Yeah,
they're clearly men who are more aggressive and athletic and dominant and more confident, and then men who are introverted and shy and more nervous and anxious. And there's a scale
in some situations,
social situations.
Yeah,
and that's what we're talking about, right?
In social, but your social situation could change based on what situation you're in. You know what I mean?
They could, but like an athletic, confident male is always going to be an athletic, confident male, and an introverted, anxious male who has problems with social anxiety is going to be the same. That's who that person is.
I don't think so necessarily. But so when we're talking about alphas, right? In animals, what is that? It's a social hierarchy, right?
In animals. So let's take away that word. I mean, what people are using to describe when they're saying alphas and betas, they're saying like confident, strong, secure people and people that are anxious and not confident.
So if you're trying to say, hey, like it's good to be confident, it's not so great to be anxious. Like that's fine, right? But when people talk about alpha males and beta males, right, they're specifically bringing in the language of like evolution, of biology, of zoology, of evolutionary psychology, and they'll start saying stuff like, well, there's alphas and there's betas, and women are hardwired to be attracted to the alpha, because that's what it's like in nature. Like they'll be using that language, right? And so what we're pointing out is that's not scientific, right?
It's not scientific, but it is true that women are hardwired to be attracted to confident, athletic men.
I don't know if I agree with that. But
really,
yeah.
You don't think that women look at like pro athletes and like big, strong, athletic men, and you don't think they're drawn to that for evolutionary reasons?
No, I don't actually. I think that.
Okay, do you think that men are drawn to women with small waists and big hips and large breasts for evolutionary reasons?
I think that's an easy. I think what that is that's an easy intuition to come to.
The first unbearable guest that we will see today is Adam Conover, a comedian and host of Adam Ruins Everything, a show that debunks myths and challenges popular misconceptions with humor and research. He has some very strong ideas that he likes to share, as we can see, especially on this JRE episode. In this clip, Adam Conover challenges the concept of the alpha male, arguing it's a misunderstood idea rooted in outdated science. But as always, Joe pushes back, cornering Adam with a curveball question about whether he prefers big boobs and tiny waists. You can see Adam is caught off guard, but he holds firm to his beliefs. A bold way to let millions of people know you're more of a personality guy, Adam.
It's always been my
How do you
advice.
feel about trans athletes?
It's a good question. I think we're really going to go through like a cultural change on how we think about that, and it's morphing so quickly, you know what I mean? I'm very much, because I am of this opinion that there is no such thing as like perfect fairness, and when we make those distinctions, we're always choosing who to allow. And because I think we should choose to allow like trans people to participate in society, I'm for an inclusive approach where we're able to like find like a model that allows those folks to compete fairly in a way that everybody's happy with. I think that's what we should do. And that to me is like that's what makes me like sports more, is those comparisons. Like, another thing that pissed me off so much was like, what's his name? The disabled runner who then killed his girlfriend.
Oh yeah, the
Oscar Pistorius,
yeah.
right? And people were saying about this guy that his prosthetic gave him an advantage. Now, first of all, there's no fucking way that's true, because he doesn't have muscles. Muscles
but I
convert
actually
food
think
into.
it does give you an advantage. I mean,
You do think so?
Yeah, I think mechanically it does, because they're springs. They essentially, the way his leg works with those things is you've seen him, right? They don't even look remotely like feet. You know what they look like, right?
I've seen them. Yeah, the cheetah things. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a crazy like.
But dude,
seesaw type thing.
But hold on a second, that's not an advantage, because how mechanics work, right? Is that a spring, you put energy into it and you get a little bit less energy out, right? So because that's the laws of thermodynamics, right? You can't get more out than you put in. Except a muscle does give you more than you put in, because a muscle converts food into energy for a brief period, right? And so he doesn't have springs. He has springs. He doesn't have a machine in his leg the way the rest of us do that creates force out of food.
Well, the real question is whether or not the lower half of his legs, which is what he's missing, could make up for the advantage, the mechanical advantage of the shape of those things, which applies all sorts of really unusual leverage when you're running.
It's totally,
because you're not.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if it's. I mean, I don't know if you took him with full legs and took him with those things, if they'd run the same amount of time. But
the thing is,
you can run fast as fuck with those things. You've seen those guys,
well,
right?
In this next clip, the conversation shifts to the controversial topic of trans athletes in sports. Adam argues in defense of inclusion and fairness, while Joe questions the practical implications and potential advantages of competition. I mean, we could expect it from someone who doesn't believe in the alpha male theory. The back and forth gets intense. Joe challenges Adam to consider the biological realities, while Adam holds firm, again, to his belief in respecting individual identities. Is it me, or does Adam sound a bit too woke for Joe?
She wrote a fantastic book called Everything You Need to Know About Trans, that like she is now a researcher, right? And she went into really deep detail about like, here is all of the medical science, here's all the science about it. And so at this point in the conversation, I would say like, hey man, I just got to bone up on, on that particular, because I don't want to speak to suicide rates.
My entire concern is with children. My concern is not with young adults deciding to take steps to confirm their gender identity, who they feel they really are. I'm all for you doing whatever you want to do when you're an adult, when your mind is formed. But people change their mind. They change their opinion. They change their thoughts. There's nothing wrong with just deciding to be a gay man. There's nothing wrong with your body, as you grow and mature and develop, you growing out of these ideas. Some will and some won't. And the ones who won't, they always have the option to do something later on in life. But if you do something to hormonally block a child very, very early on, there's no turning back from that.
Well, let me say a few things to that. First of all, it's not wrong to be concerned about children, and there's a reason this is the most intense part of this conversation, and I think it's correct, right? Because we're all very concerned about children, right? But I do want to say, first of all, I don't think it's correct that trans people, if they don't receive hormones from a young age, they simply become gay men. Because I know
it happens very often.
I know trans people.
See if you can find that, because there was a big article that was written about that recently, where they were talking about whether or not gender confirmation surgery and hormone blockers on young children is ethical because of this fact. And this was what they were talking about, where people at one point in time wanted to be trans, and they listed several famous examples. And then as they became older, just decided to be gay, including women who wanted to be men, who just became gay women. And I think, what's that girl's name that was in John Wick? Ruby Rose. She was one of those. She wanted to be trans when she was younger, and now she's just a gay woman.
So look, I know quite a few trans folks, right? And I have to be honest, none of the ones that I know I don't know any trans women personally who were gay men up until they transitioned, right? I know quite a few trans women who were straight men, right? Or who, lived their lives as presented as straight men, right? And then transitioned, right?
And often become lesbians, which is very odd.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the ways that people can be. I really recommend that. The other thing I was going to say is that I do know also among the trans folks that I know, or the trans people who speak about this that I've heard, so many of them say, I wish I had access. I knew this about myself at a very young age, and I wish to God that I had the ability to receive, these hormones at a young age. My life would be so much better. And I'm not going to argue with those folks.
I wouldn't argue with those folks either, but you have to address the fact that there are people that have gone through transition surgery and said, I wish to God that I never did this.
In this clip, Adam dives into a disturbing discussion about gender and societal norms. He also references a book he says brilliantly explores the topic. He argues that much of what we think about gender today is shaped by culture and not biology. Because yes, Adam, whenever I go to the doctor's office, they ask about my cultural gender. Joe, of course, isn't letting that slide without a challenge. He throws out questions and examples, pushing Adam to clarify his stance. What do you think about Adam's ideas and beliefs? Would you be as annoyed as Joe was listening to such politically correct stances? Let us know in the comments, because we are about to get into another phenomenal guest that Joe had.
Damn it, maybe I went too far down this road. If I could just relax one aspect of my dialogue, what would it be? Maybe it would be my pipe smoking.
Your pipe smoking? I probably wouldn't talk about the marijuana issue. I wouldn't care. Because here's the thing, I don't care about it. I
One
really
way
don't.
or the other?
But my issue with it is when, and we saw this in Montreal, I talked about it when people lie about it and they're dishonest with their voting constituency.
Like how so?
Well, saying, it's medicine for A, B, C, or D. It may be medicine for A, but not for B, C, or D.
Well, what are the B, C's, and D's?
Well,
what are the things that's not medicine
an example.
for?
Well, you're asking me what I wouldn't talk about, and
Right.
you're asking me to defend it. My point is, I don't really care about it.
But what are the B, C's, and D? What you said
It cures
specific.
cancer.
Well, there
one.
has been shown
It helps with cancer about as much as turmeric and ginger. Those
well,
things
all
help
those
with cancer.
anti-inflammatory things.
Yeah, I know, but it's not a prescription.
But CBD has been shown
With
to have
seizures.
tremendous benefits for cancer and non-psychoactive.
Yeah, and certainly with seizures. I have zero
Yes.
problem with CBD being
Okay.
legalized. But my
Which is
issue
also cannabis.
I'll have to, I feel the need to call people out in bullshit when they say, well, the reason it's not is because of big pharmaceutical companies. I go, hold on a second. There are 7 patents on chemical compounds for marijuana right now.
Right.
The people who stand to make the most out of marijuana legalization are pharmaceutical companies. That's why they make.
That's not true.
Well, it is. If you look at the biggest supplement
No,
companies,
because
it's
you
owned by
can't-
the same pharmaceutical
but you
companies.
can't patent
and the
a
one
plant.
Yes, you can. They've patented seven at
You can
least.
patent strains that are
7
GMOs.
chemicals. No. 7 active chemical compounds in pot that have been patented as drugs. They've gone through the process.
Yeah,
There's
but you
one
can't
that's really
patent it
efficient.
to the point where you can't grow pot. How would you stop someone if
sure
pot's
you can.
legal? If pot's legal, how would anyone? And if that's the truth, then
No.
that's a real problem.
If pot is recognized as a medicine, right? If pot is
Okay.
recognized, there is no one who would stand to gain more than pharmaceutical companies by providing it as
That's
medicine.
not necessarily true if people are allowed to grow
Maybe
it
it's not
themselves.
necessarily true. I'll give you that. But I also think it's not necessarily true that the reason people can't smoke up is because Big Pharma is sitting somewhere, Martin Shkreli going, oh, let's make pot illegal.
Well, not that
That's
guy.
my only point.
But there are absolutely people who have lobbied, as we talked about how the prison guard union has lobbied to keep marijuana illegal. There's absolutely pharmaceutical companies have done the same thing. It was revealed in the WikiLeaks memos.
See, this is where I was saying
it was,
don't
hold
care
on,
about
don't
this.
interrupt me, you fuck. Where Hillary Clinton said that she's against marijuana in every sense of the word, right? You remember those
Trump's pretty
WikiLeaks
against it,
papers
too.
that came out?
Yeah.
Is he? He said he would leave it up to the states.
Yeah.
That's actually a constitutional approach.
But he wants to beef up the war on drugs.
You know why? I bet someone slipped him a pot cookie once and he looked at his hair in the mirror. And
No, he's a teetotaler. He doesn't even drink.
What the fuck?
Sold vodka.
Next up, we have Steven Crowder, a conservative political commentator, comedian, and host of the YouTube show Louder with Crowder. Known for his fiery political debates and controversial takes, he brings his very unique energy to this clip. With Joe, the topic shifts to the legalization of marijuana, its pros, cons, and everything in between. But seriously, someone get Steve some indica, because the man doesn't stop. It's like he's forgotten how to breathe. Let's check out more of his very loud opinions.
Well, no. Traffic fatalities regarding marijuana have skyrocketed.
Google that because that's nonsense.
No,
you
we
know,
wrote about it at loudbetter.com.
drunk driving arrests have dropped. What do you mean you've? First of all,
No, we wrote about what the sources
first of
are, the
all,
original studies.
Just because someone gets in an accident and they're high,
See,
because hold on, stop.
No, hold on a second. This is
you
because you just
interrupt
want-
way too much.
No, no.
You need to stop.
You talk
hold
in
on
paragraphs.
A second. No. I don't talk in
Go ahead.
paragraphs. I make full points. If people are high a lot and the same amount of fatalities exist, but the people that get checked once they get into these accidents happen to be high, it does not necessarily mean that marijuana caused those fatalities. It could be that you have an increased incidence of people doing marijuana and altercations that could not have been avoided.
It could be.
It could be.
But the statistical change is measurable.
Well, what
from
is it?
pre and
You're
post.
talking about in Colorado.
In states where it's been decriminalized or
Let's
legalized.
go with Colorado. Pull it
So,
up,
hold on a
Jamie.
second. You just said, let me make my point. Again, my point is I don't care about it.
Yeah, you do.
No, I really don't.
You don't care about
here's the
people
thing.
dying? You
get
son of a
you get
bitch.
so touchy about it because someone says, you know what, if people want to smoke up, fine. I just don't really buy the arguments that everyone is in some big conspiracy to try and snuff it out.
No, there
and
are
the
some.
idea and the idea that the drug war will end and the idea that it cures cancer. I just don't buy that, and
Well, it
people get
does.
so upset.
Well, listen,
That's my only point. That's why I
scientific
wouldn't talk about
studies
it.
have proven that it shrinks tumors, that it helps people with cancer, much like turmeric, much like any things that reduce inflammation, including
Turmeric,
CBD
ginger,
oil.
tart cherry.
Right, but it's not necessarily
fighting for
a
those to be-
magical. They're all legal, and there's no issue because they're not psychoactive.
Right.
But they are beneficial. So all these things are good. Marijuana is one of the things that are good. And don't shore, man. Just like you don't shore turmeric, you don't shore ginger, you don't shore a reduced sugar diet. All those things that reduce inflammation are good for you.
I don't buy that smoking marijuana would be as beneficial as a reduced sugar diet. And my point is that people
you
get
might
so
be-
offended
you
by
might
me
be
saying that
correct.
and saying, but if you want to smoke, go ahead.
You might be correct,
Shouldn't be
but
offensive.
it doesn't matter because it's not a fucking contest to see what's the most beneficial. The question is it beneficial and is it damaging?
It is. It does matter. The
What's
fact that you
damaging?
said that, no. Let me finish my point. It does matter. You said, what would you not talk about? I said probably pot because I don't care. Well, what do you think
You
about
definitely
it? I said,
care. That's
this
why
is
you're
what I
arguing
think
with me
about
it.
And your eyes
Lying-
light up, and all of a
lying
sudden,
bitch. You
where
care.
ideology and
You care
worldviews
like crazy.
shouldn't be discussed.
No, you
You're
care.
going to laser in like a tractor beam on the most important issue of the day that I said I don't care.
You're the guy that thinks people should be able to do whatever. You're a free
Yes,
market guy,
that's
right?
what I just said.
So if you're a free
Smoke
market
pot.
guy, why wouldn't you be in support of something, whether it's the most
I just
beneficial
said I am.
or equally
I just said I
beneficial?
am.
But you're not necessarily because
I
you're
am.
you're denying.
But because
you're
right now of the
denying-
chemical compounds,
Hold on, fuckface. You're
Well, watch
denying.
it. Come on. It's been a good
Come on,
conversation.
We're friends. I'm just joking.
And the video continues with the same debate of Sweet Mary and how it affects the population. Joe can't get over the fact that Stephen claims to be okay with it while throwing a fit at the same time. The debate takes a funny turn when Crowder cracks a quick joke to lighten the mood, but not before firing off his signature rapid-paced commentary. It's classic Rogan and Crowder. Intense, interesting, and with just enough humor to keep things entertaining.
It was the top 10 most wanted celebrities promoting harmful pseudoscience.
And in that, I read about myself, and I was shocked to learn that I believe that 911 was created by the government. I did not know. I didn't know that I believed that. And also all this ridiculous woke shit that's going on, this bizarre mind virus that's going from universities into tech companies and the media, and just fucking infiltrating people with these rigid ideas of what you have to say and not say and what you can and not say. It's like,
If I win, I do the programming on your show for a week.
no. That's worth a lot of money. You can fuck off.
What kind of money? What do you think I'm
That's
going to
like-
I'm not saying like the ads or whatever. I'm
You'd
saying
be like programming, like who's going to be on?
yeah, who's going to be on?
That's not possible. We're booked up months and months in advance.
You were so
and
confident until just now. We
No,
could
no,
pick
no.
a month,
That's
few
just-
months
that's,
off. Whatever.
That's ridiculous to flip a coin on that. There's no chance.
Thank you guys for making it this far in the video. And now for the next half, buckle up, because we are about to see Brian Dunnings, Dave Portnoy, and Moxie Marlinspike annoying Joe like no other before.
You can't say that doesn't look like a controlled demolition.
And I didn't. I said it does look like
Okay.
a controlled demolition, the
That
part of it
is
that you can see.
the most controversial thing I've ever said about 9/11. I've never said once that I think that the government engineered it or that it was. I think it's very possible that big events happen and then people capitalize on those events, and then things happen like the invasion of Iraq that they were probably looking for an excuse to do anyway. But the idea that it was all one big grand scheme to me seems ridiculously unlikely.
Okay, let me. This is actually a good segue into what we started to talk about, which was this inclusion that I had of you back in this list of top celebrities promoting pseudoscience. Because if someone who just listened to our last 5 minutes here of the exchange, it sounded like you were trying to convince me that 9/11 was a hoax.
Like
And
who? To who would say that?
I think anyone who listens to that 5 minutes, it would sound like you were trying to convince me Building 7 was a demolition.
No, it wouldn't.
If you were a betting man, if you had to bet yes or no, was 9/11 orchestrated by the government? If you had to bet, would you bet yes?
I would bet on no. I would
bet on no.
100% bet on no.
Good save there, Joe. In this clip, we get a classic moment that perfectly captures why some guests earn the title of Unbearable. The conversation heats up as bold claims are thrown around, and tensions rise when one guest gets called out for saying something you just can't say. They really decided to deep dive into one of the most horrific terroristic attacks ever. And they did that nonchalantly too. Joe, as always, steps in to keep things real, challenging the logic and refusing to let anything slide. Again, great save with the 100% no there, Joe.
Comedian Joe Rogan does what he can to promote virtually any conspiracy theory that he stumbles onto, apparently accepting them all uncritically with a wholesale embrace. Now, I know you would disagree with that now.
Of course I would.
Okay, and I want to give you that chance, so let me continue. He believes the Apollo astronauts did not land on the moon. He believes the U.S. government was behind the 9/11 terrorist attacks. He believes the Oliver Stone version of the Kennedy assassination. He believes aliens crashed at Roswell in 1947 and the government is covering it up. He thinks Men in Black from Project Blue Book stole his friend's camera, even though Project Blue Book ended over 38 years ago. The worst part is that he promotes these ideas to the public at every interview opportunity, but gives himself the intellectual get-out-of-jail-free card of not needing any evidence by hiding behind the childish debate technique of saying, hey, I'm just the guy asking questions. God, this makes me sound like an asshole.
Well, it's just factually inaccurate on so many different levels. I don't understand why you wrote it like that.
This moment gets awkward fast when the guest takes a jab at Joe, calling him a comedian in a way that feels more like an insult than a compliment. Joe doesn't miss a beat, flipping it back on the guest and questioning what Brian really meant. You can feel the tension as Brian stumbles, trying to explain himself. I mean, those were pretty harsh accusations he listed. What do you guys think about it? Was the Apollo mission fake? Was 9/11 really planned by the government? Would you be willing to bet on it?
None of that is liberal. None of that is really like open-minded or progressive. It's all just it's a cult. And so if you go against it, the only thing you could possibly be is the other. So you must be like a MAGA supporter.
My main thing with it is if I know how you're going to answer a question basically before it's asked, which I think you can do with like almost everybody involved in politics,
Yeah.
I don't trust you.
Right.
and you really can. Like
Yeah.
on both left and right, ask any question, you know what they're going to answer it. So it's like you're not thinking independently.
Yeah, there's a lot of that, right? Like if you are on the right, I have to assume you're dismissive of climate change. You know, if you're on the left, I have to assume that you want a woman to have the right to choose, period. You know, and like there's like things like that. Like you are pro-abortion, or you are pro this, or you are pro that. And that what's weird now is like if you're on the left, you're pro-Ukraine war. You want to send like you're pro-military industrial complex getting funneled billions and trillions of dollars into their system to be able to create weapons to fight off Russia. And it's like, whoa, that's the left now?
And really, that should have nothing to do with either side, really.
No.
Like, I mean, how you feel about that, I don't think should be left or right. I mean, that's a super complicated issue, to be honest. For me, at least, it's like Ukraine. Like, you don't want a country being invaded that doesn't want to be invaded. They're not Americans, but they are humans.
Yeah.
So it's like, what do you do? Well, like, what do you do there? It's a tough situation.
It's very tough. And it's also very complicated, too, because there's NATO's involvement in pushing weapons closer to the border of Russia and trying to get the Ukraine to join NATO. And
it's like Jack Ryan. The latest season of Jack Ryan. It's literally sort of like that plot. But yeah, no, there is no easy answer to a lot of issues. But it's just so black and white, and that's no good.
None of it's good. This is a scary time to be alive.
The next one up, we have Dave Portnoy, the founder of Barstool Sports, a media company known for its sport and pop culture content. Often called El Presidente, Portnoy is a polarizing figure, famous for his outspoken personality, pizza reviews, and controversial takes, and that's why he managed to be a guest of the JRE. Apart from the left versus right debate, let's see what else Dave has to offer.
Fighters are very clever. Their managers are very clever. They match them up with people that's going to give them a good record. Because in boxing, if you're going to be challenging Canelo Alvarez or whatever, they want to see 16-0. They want to see someone who's like an undefeated fighter or like 16-1.
The last guy who fought was 11-2.
Yeah, I mean that's a good fighter.
I feel it.
Dude, you're out of your mind.
I don't think so.
Play that highlight reel again. I just want you to look at this. I want you to look at this objectively. If you look at this objectively and you look at the way he's knocking guys out and landing punches.
I have nothing against Tommy
dude,
Fury.
But just watch some of this. Just watch some of this. Dude, this is legit boxing, man. Watch this. You're out of your fucking mind if you don't think that's good. Look at this.
Can we
Shut
rewind
the fuck
that
up
one?
And look
can
at
we
this.
rewind and show the punch that guy in the red trunks threw? That was
because the guy's already rocked.
No, he wasn't rocked when he threw that.
He absolutely was. He'd already been pummeled. I saw that fight. The guy was already getting his ass kicked. He was already getting his ass kicked.
Right, yeah,
he was already getting his ass kicked, man. Watch this right hand. Dude, that is legit. If you don't think that's legit, you're fucking crazy. Watch this uppercut. Watch this punch. Boom, body to the head. Dude, he's legit. 100% legit. Are these guys the best fighters in the world?
We're going to have to agree to disagree on this.
Are these fighters the best in the world? But watch his skills, man. These skills are absolutely legit. I'm telling you, you can't disparage a man's ability to land punches like this.
Then why hasn't he fought? Why does he keep backing out of Jake?
I don't know what's going on. I don't know if he gets injured. Look, guys get fucked up all the time in training. They break hands. They fuck their wrists up. Their shoulders get injured. Fights get canceled. They get moved around. I mean, that's like saying like Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford suck because they haven't fought each other. There's a reason why they haven't fought each other. They're trying to make the most amount of money possible. It's the same thing with Tommy Fury. They're trying to set it up where if he's going to fight an elite fighter.
I hope they fight because I'll put my net worth on Jake Paul.
Would it even be a JRE if there was no speaking of boxing? I don't think so, and Joe is here to prove my point, as well as he tries to prove that these fights are legit. Joe and Dave fight with each other about celebrity boxers being real or faking it for the money, and Joe stands really firm on his ground while being punched back and forth by Dave's "that's fake" comments. Watching the same clip as they did, what do you think of the match? Real or fake?
Tommy Fury is not a real boxer.
Of course he's a real boxer.
No chance.
He's a professional boxer. Is he a world champion? No. But maybe he is. Is he?
No.
What is he? What is like
Tommy Fury?
He might have some sort of a title.
If he does, it's in name only. I saw Tommy Fury box. He is not a boxer.
Well, he's definitely a boxer.
Well, he puts on gloves.
He's definitely a boxer. But is he a boxer like his brother? No.
Well, clearly. But Tommy Fury we would not know who Tommy Fury was if his last name wasn't Fury.
Probably we wouldn't know as much about him.
I don't.
but he's still a good-looking guy. He's built great. He looks
Well,
like
those are-
he
yeah.
looks the part.
Looks the part, no doubt. But what I'm saying,
He's a good journeyman boxer.
Let me rephrase this. I'm not. I think Jake Paul would kill Tommy Fury, and that wouldn't change. I don't know how good Jake Paul is, but I don't know of any boxer who can bring enough to a Jake Paul
So
fight.
here's Tommy Fury. You telling me this guy doesn't look like a boxer? You're out of your fucking mind.
Who's he fighting?
But I don't give a fuck, dude. Look at this. Look at this. He's fighting a professional boxer. The guy he's fighting looks good. Dude, you're crazy if you don't think Tommy Fury's a
I don't
boxer.
think-
Look at that uppercut. Shut the fuck up, dude.
No.
Shut the fuck up. Watch this.
Find
Look,
the
just
Tommy
look at
Fury.
this.
Find
Dude.
the Tommy Fury fight on
Dude,
the
shut
Jake
the
Paul
fuck-
card.
shut the fuck
this
up
guy
and-
cannot.
Tommy Fury is the main problem. Real boxer or a fake it till you make it guy. Dave really managed to strike a nerve here with Joe. The debate gets heated, with Portnoy doubling down and Joe adding his classic no-nonsense perspective. By the end, Portnoy's fiery commentary is in full swing, leaving no doubt where he stands. And that's why he earned his place on the most unbearable guests on the JRE.
If I win, I do the programming on your show for a week.
No. That's worth a lot of money. You can fuck off.
What kind of money? What do you think I'm
That's
not,
like-
I'm not saying like the ads or whatever. I'm
You'd
saying
be
like
like programming, like who's going to be on?
yeah, who's going to be on?
That's not possible. We're booked up months and months in advance.
You were so
and-
confident until just now. We
No,
could
no,
pick
no.
a month,
That's
few
just-
months
that's,
off. Whatever.
That's ridiculous to flip a coin on that. There's no chance.
I mean, what would be?
Because
the
then you'd
equivalent?
make me have Listen, the whole reason why this show works is because I talk to people that I want to talk to. That's why it works.
Yeah.
The only
you gotta risk
way-
something to play this game.
That's not a risk. That's
It's just
that's,
1 week of
no.
your
That's
life, Jeff.
abandoning the
It's
show.
1 week of your life.
No, you could bring some assholes on here that I want to talk to, and then I'm like, what am I doing? No, impossible.
All right. Well, do you think that there's something of equivalent value?
No.
There's
Of
nothing.
that?
Nothing that I can do.
No, there's nothing that you could give me that would be worth a week of programming on the show. What are you going to give me? You'd
What
have
about
to
a day of programming?
You'd have to give me a
What-
spectacular amount of money.
I sent you a.
It would, it would,
we
like,
can't
if
make
more-
this about
but I
money. We
would.
can't
But
make
that's the only way I would. Be, like the only way. Like if you ever put a monetary equivalent to that, it would have to be a spectacular amount of money for me to let someone else program the show. I've never let anybody do that before.
Not even
That was-
for 1 day.
No, that was one of the big things about doing this show on Spotify. They could have no impact at all on who gets on, no suggestions, no nothing. The only way it works.
Well, what was up with that dude in the suit outside with the clipboard that was telling me from Spotify?
Oh, he's from the government. He's from the CIA. No, there's no one out there. He's joking. But the only way the show works, I think, the way it works is I have to be interested in talking to the people. That's it. So it has to be. I've like all these suggestions for guests. I go, oh, that guy seems cool. Oh, that might be interesting.
What if I?
Let me read up on this
What
guy.
if it's like for a week I
No.
give you the list of suggestions?
No input.
No, but all right.
No,
Man.
it's not. That's a ridiculous.
Stand real.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Impossible.
In
How
any
about-
case,
How about $5?
no,
No.
no, it's got to be.
Come on,
stakes.
man.
It's gotta be
20
real
bucks?
stakes.
20
No,
bucks. I got
come
20
on.
bucks in
No,
my
no,
pocket.
Money is off the table. We can't do
Money's
money.
off the
Yeah,
table?
Forget that.
All right. Sounds like someone's scared to lose at rock, paper, scissors.
And now, as the grand finale, we have the one and only Moxie Marlinspike, a cybersecurity expert, cryptographer, and creator of Signal, a leading encrypted messaging app. A grown man with an established career who got a chance to partake in the JRE podcast, but yet played his cards wrong, or should we say his paper wrong. Great way to impress Joe. That's it for today's look at some of the most unbearable guests on the Joe Rogan Experience. From Adam Conover's stubborn takes to Steven Crowder's non-stop rants, and Dave Portnoy and Moxie Marlinspike testing Joe's patience, these moments really put the podcast king to the test. What do you think? Were these guests truly unbearable or just bringing their unique perspectives? Let us know your thoughts in the comments, and as always, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more unforgettable moments from the JRE. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time.
All right. Sounds like someone's scared to lose at rock, paper, scissors.
It sounds like someone else is scared to lose it.
No, you're asking me for something that's ridiculous. You don't have anything. You don't have anything that's worth a week of programming on this show. You don't have it.
That's rough.
It doesn't exist.
That's rough.
No, it doesn't. It literally doesn't exist. Like there's not. Like you don't. There's nothing that you can have that you can offer me that I couldn't buy myself.
I'll make
or,
I'll make. I'll.
No,
people
no,
I
no.
think will be interesting.
No,
You'll
no,
enjoy
no.
talking with them.
You can't. No.
All right, fine. Okay.
But that doesn't
We don't
do
have to
anything
play.
for me. That does something
No,
for
no,
you.
of
That
course,
does zero
of course.
for
You
me.
would have, if you win, you would name your steak.
I don't have a steak.
Okay.
There's nothing I want from you.
all right, well.
That what you asked from me
Then-
is a
then we can't
crazy
play the
thing.
game.
Yeah, we can't play rock paper scissors then, huh? Interesting.
Anyway, we were talking about something else before all of this. We were talking